This question is an example of getting from the mass of one atom to another type of atom in a compound. Our question asks, what mass of lithium is in a sample of lithium sulfate that contains 9.63 grams of oxygen? So our job here is to get from 9.63 grams of oxygen to grams of lithium. In problems like this, it's best to go from grams to moles of what we're given, and then think about how we can get to the other materials. So let's start by writing 9.63 grams of oxygen. And of course, we know from the periodic table that 1 mole of oxygen is 16 grams of oxygen. So you notice in this first step, we're going to divide by the weight of a mole of oxygen atoms. Our next job is to get from moles of oxygen to moles of lithium. So we actually need to know what compound lithium sulfate is. Perhaps you remember that lithium is a group 1 metal ion with a +1 charge. Sulfate is a polyatomic ion. It has the formula SO4 with a 2- charge. So in order to make a neutral compound, we crisscross the charges, so our compound will be 2 lithiums with 1 sulfate. This gives us a ratio of 2 lithium to 4 oxygen, and that is what we will use in this ratio here, 2 lithium to 4 oxygen. So what we're doing here is multiplying by what we call the stoichiometric ratio. Our last step is to get to grams of lithium, and once again we're going to use the periodic table. From the periodic table, we know there are 6.941 grams of lithium in 1 mole of lithium. So our step here is to multiply by the weight of a mole of lithium atoms. So to get from grams of one material to grams of another, it takes 3 ratios in this particular order. Notice how the units cancel out. Grams of oxygen cancels, moles of oxygen cancels, and moles of lithium cancels. So in the end, we are left with units of grams of lithium. When we place this in our calculator, we wind up with 2.088. Now, a word about sig figs. 9.63 has 3 sig figs in it. The rest of these values are either absolute values, like 2 to 4, or values we know to more than 3 significant figures. So we need to take our final value and get it to 3 sig figs. Let's of course not forget to round upward, so we wind up with 2.09 grams of lithium.